Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Thanks very much for joining us on this wintry evening. Well, wintry for those of us in the UK, less so for people lucky enough to be overseas. Just give it a couple of minutes for people to finish joining us. Welcome those of you just logging on. Just wait for the figure to stabilize and then we'll get going. Welcome those of you just joining us. Thank you very much for being with us this evening. We've just got up to a level number now. So yeah, once again, a very warm welcome. My name's Andy Tucker. I'm talking to you this evening from just on the outskirts of Southampton in Hampshire, in southern England. And I'm delighted that Nikki and Simon have joined me this evening. I would say they're down in Andalucía, but they'll tell you in a minute. They're over in Monfragüe in Extremadura on their way down south, having visited family over the festive period. Do a wonderful job for us guiding tours throughout Spain and sometimes North Africa as well. And Simon and Nikki will be talking to us primarily tonight about four different tours. A swift break, a midsummer break, targeting all of Europe's breeding swift species, along with lots of other goodies. We then move on to Ronda and the Straits, a migration tour in early November. We then switch attention to one of our vegetarian and vegan holidays, and Nikki and Simon, they'll tell you later, very passionate about this, being non-meat eaters themselves. They serve a veritable feast on the two tours in March, which go in just a few weeks' time. And I'm not a vegetarian myself, but I've got a long history of working with the tourism industry in Spain. And for many years, the idea of vegetarian food was a tuna salad or a ham omelette. And how times have changed, thankfully so. And Simon and Nikki are very much at the vanguard of that new focus on sustainable living and delicious vegetarian food down in southern Spain. And then we'll finish off the evening looking at our two popular go slow tours, one in March and one in September, based down in the Straits of Gibraltar. So after the guys finish speaking, there'll be plenty of time for questions afterwards. You can save those up and put them in the chat. There's also a Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen, so do feel free to use that function. And as we go through the evening, I'll be making a note of the questions and putting them to Nikki and Simon afterwards. So just before I hand over, there's lots of familiar names on tonight's webinar. If you have been on a tour with Simon and Nikki and would like to remember yourselves to them, just type in the comments where you've been and roughly what year it was, and they'll be delighted to make your acquaintance once again. So Simon and Nikki, thanks very much for joining us. Shall I hand over to you?
Thank you.
Thank you. Good
Thank you,
evening.
Andy. Okay, let's get the technology working first
Yeah.
and let's see how this does. I'm always mindful of whether it's going to work or not, but okay. Do, do, do. Okay. I think everybody hopefully can see that.
Yeah, that's great, Simon. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Nice work.
So yeah, did the technology. My heart level's resting now. Well, yeah. Thank you for having us. Thank you for joining us this evening, giving up your evening to join us. And as we wax lyrical about some of the wildlife on these four tours.
And a happy new year as
Oh
well.
yeah, Happy New
I
Year.
guess it's still all
I
right to
don't know.
say that, isn't
I
it?
don't know when you
It's
stopped saying
mid-February.
that. So yeah, and I was when we were putting this talk together. Actually, most of the photos are from 2025. I think 90% of the photos. So
Yeah.
it was really lovely. It was like a review of the year for us across those tours. So we're going to be talking about some of those tours, but I just wanted to tell you where we normally are. We're actually in Extremadura, a little further north from this map at the moment, visiting family and friends. But we're based in the Straits of Gibraltar, like near Tarifa, just around the corner from Tarifa, which is the narrowest point between the two continents of Europe and Africa, which puts us right at this flyway highway at the meeting of the two continents, but of this migratory bottleneck, which is stunning. And normally I'd be talking lots about the migration here, and we'd be saying all about the tours that we do here. There are lots of tours that we do in the Straits as well, but we're not talking about those. So But check those out too.
You were so disappointed
I know.
when I told
So,
him.
yeah, but these are very cool too.
These are great too.
And also I start in the Straits as well, so I'm happy. It's okay. So we're going to be talking about four tours we do for Naturetrek, and one of them is a swift break in Andalucía, and that's not painful or anything like that. It's actually focusing on five species of swift, and also a whole range of other beautiful Andalusian birds and other wildlife as well. And then we're going to go up from the Straits in November. We're focusing on the vulture migration. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but also the mountains of the Serranía de Ronda, a place that we really love as well, and some awesome birding, awesome landscapes, and some pretty spectacular foods. And we love it so much. We spend pretty much the whole month of February there as well, doing the vegetarian and vegan tours, which are super popular because the food is awesome, the birding is awesome, the wildlife is awesome, the landscapes are beautiful.
Yeah.
And at that time of the year, we're already well into spring as well here in Andalusia, and the flowering plants and the blossom is amazing. And then from there, we're going to go to towards Malaga, and we're going to talk about our Go Slow tour in southern Spain, which is based in Malaga as well, which is a city tour, but with lots of wildlife excursions out from Malaga. And a lot of people have a view of Malaga, and we're kind of here to break up that view of Malaga because it's a really special city. I'm not a city person, but even I enjoy going to Malaga for this tour. It's really cool. So we're going to start with this swift break in Andalucía. And this is actually focusing, it started off actually as a weekend tour, just to focus on actually encountering five species of swift, which you can see only in Andalucía in one weekend. And then it was so good, we actually extended it to a week. And those five species of this bird, the little swift, alpine swift, pallid and common swift, and also the white rump swift as well, which I've been struggling to get a photograph of for years. They are super quick,
Yeah,
but
clears in the name, right?
yeah, they're really, really cool. But we normally see all five species, but there's so much more to this tour than just swifts. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about some of the other species on that tour and some of the other things we encounter on that tour.
So for that one, we're based in, as actually most of our trips for Naturetrek are now based in the beautiful Cortijo el Indiviso, which is just outside the white town of Vejer de la Frontera, which is it's still in Cádiz province, but it's a little bit further west than Tarifa at the heart of the Straits, which puts us right in the middle of all really the best wildlife sites in the area, and also within a stone's throw of the eastern side of Doñana, which also features in the trip. And it's just a gorgeous place. It's a very old cortijo that was derelict and was renovated with, I say, a great deal of sort of taste and panache in the 90s. And they just brought it back to life, kept as much original stuff as they could. So most of the rooms are based around this gorgeous sort of courtyard in the middle. That's the original cobblestones in the middle. And the whole atmosphere of the place is just lovely. It's really sort of, there's horse paddocks and fields and places you can wander, and it's just very conducive to relaxing and reflecting on the fantastic day's birding that you've just had, really. And I going to be talking about the food a lot this evening, but yeah, the food is generally spectacular. Here's Christina serving up a paella, and weather permitting, we dine in this gorgeous little orange grove outside. So just picture yourself there for a moment as we continue with the thing.
The good thing about sitting outside as well, often birds go over at night as well, like owls and
yeah. Oh, there's like the sunset bee eaters.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, which everybody gets up from the table real quick,
Yeah.
but unless there's paella, and then people tend not to. So one of the species that we go and visit is we actually go up from the Straits. We're in the Straits itself exploring that area around Tarifa, but we also got up to the eastern side of Doñana as well. And a lot of this area is maybe not as well known as the center of Doñana. And this is a very mixed area, but one of the species we can encounter is one of these more African type species, which occur more commonly in sub-Saharan Africa, and that's the little swift, white rump swift as well in another private area we go to. These are a lot easier to photograph than white rump swift, so that's why there's more photos of these ones.
But they're just adorable.
And they're really cool. Yeah. And the colony has over 100 pairs. And we arrive just as they start leaving the roost. We time it perfectly. And we have second breakfast there as well. With some people regard it to be the best churros in the whole of Spain. I think that's true because there are little swift there as well. Yeah. So you can see that the little swift and the noisy coming and goings at this colony. It's really awesome. The other species at the other end of the spectrum is the alpine swift, and this is a species that has a wingspan of 2 foot. It's huge, and they're actually crossing through the straits. They start coming into the straits at that time of the year when we're running the tour. But there are huge numbers of common and pallid swift actually feeding over some of the bigger areas of wetlands in the straits as well. So you can see many thousands of them as well as a rarer species, little and white rump swift too. Also on the eastern side of Doñana, we encountered lots of different things. So this red-knobbed coot.
It's my favourite.
And Niki loves this one. And we actually go to some private lagoons, private agricultural pools, where we encounter this bird often quite close, but also a whole range of different things as well. White-headed duck. I'm sure many of you heard about the conservation of the white-headed duck here in the Iberian Peninsula. This is a species that declined really rapidly, but we actually go to an area where they're really close and they're quite common in this area as well. So it's really nice to see, and you can get some amazing photos like this. Also, if we're very lucky, we can go into the lagoon areas and find the marble duck also, and that's another. These are all more African type species that occur in the Iberian Peninsula that we can find, and really interesting to European birders, and a lot of conservation efforts for these species. Also, the salinas, the salt pans of the eastern side of Doñana are absolute magic at this time of the year. Rare gulls like slender-billed gull, like this species. But a whole range of migratory shorebirds as well, because of course late summer is a time when a lot of shorebirds are moving, and of course we can encounter relatively common species like whimbrel, but sometimes rarities as well. One of the things very close to the Cortijo is a magical wetland, the Marismas de Barbate. And this is also a really, really good time to see collared pratin gull. And this is one of the densest breeding colonies in its range. And it's possible to see over 230 pairs at this one site. And it is phenomenal. The noise is amazing. They are just amazing birds as well. But they are actually a shorebird. It's hard to think of them as a shorebird. They look kind of something between a tern and a swift,
yeah, kind like swift tern hybrid with lipstick.
Yeah, but they're really comical, and sometimes if the weather's right as well, they will forage right next to you as well, and you can get phenomenal photos like this as they come and check you out. And of course, it would be unfair to not mention the resident but awesome northern bord ibis. It's a really nice time to see them because they're not only foraging in the camper, but they're also busy feeding chicks at the colony as well. And this is a really rare bird. It's less than 1,000 pairs in the wild and about another 1,000 in captivity. And two really good populations that are doing relatively well. One in Morocco, which is actually increasing, and this one, which has been reintroduced in southern Andalucía in the Straits. And thankfully, due to conservation efforts, they seem to be holding their own. and they are a really stunning bird. A lot of people sort of say, well, they're a bit ugly, but then when you look at the feather detail
Yeah.
and the colours, they are really awesome. This is a bird that was depicted as a witch and an evil spirit and was persecuted as a result, but in more ancient religions was actually seen as an emblem of splendor. I think if you look at it that way, you can definitely see why. This is one at a colony, and yeah, there are several colonies, but one we can view very closely, and that's really close to the Cortijo as
Yeah.
well. See, I couldn't help but mention some raptor migration. So at the end of July, middle to the end of July, people always say, is it not too early for raptors migrating? No, at this time of the year, it is amazing for black kite migration. It's one of the biggest spectacles on the planet. And you can see not just a few thousand, but tens of thousands in the sky at one time. And this locally, we refer to this as the Millenada, and nobody else comes to see this. There is nobody coming to see this. But if you're on this tour, hopefully you see it because it's amazing. We get these collections of black kites when it's been a little windy and they're not crossing, and they're all come to the straits to cross at this point. But yeah, they can't, and they have to wait. Well, it's truly
Yeah.
spectacular.
Out of this world, it really is.
So other species we can encounter as well, just quickly, even at that time of the year, the first honey buzzards, short-tailed eagles, booted eagles, and it's a really good time for bee eaters. Not only some of the bee eaters still on territory, still at the colonies, which we will be at, but also thousands of them crossing the straits, the first ones crossing the straits. And the noise of the straits is unbelievable at that time of year. Another really cool species a lot of bird watchers want to see is the rufous-tailed scrub robin. If you've seen the one in the east, this one's a lot paler. It's brighter. It's basically better than the one in the east. And it's this is a really good news story. I love this story because a friend of mine works with the farmers of this area, which we are granted access to, and they're organic vineyards, and they're producing sherry in a very extensive way in a very mixed habitat. And this is for particularly the rufous-tailed scrub robin. And we can go to this area and hear them singing and watch them doing their thing. And it's a great time of the year just to be amongst those vineyards and to witness this really spectacular bird with this fabulous tail as well. Not only of its migration, but an actual fabulous tail as well.
Yeah.
So this time in July, migration's in full swing, but still there are many birds on territory many Andalusian special birds on territory that we can see. So you get the best of both worlds. You get some migration, but you get those species that lots of people want to see in southern Europe, in the Iberian Peninsula.
And those of you that have been on, we do have the spring and autumn migration trips based in the same place, and we do boat trips out into the straits for those as well. But this one, the Swift Tour, which is in July, it's also an extra special time because if you head out on a boat into the Straits in July, you've actually got a really good chance of seeing orca because we have some pods of orca that come into the Straits. So as well as our resident cetaceans, such as, well, as you can see from the state of my shorts here, I really love common dolphins. So we get really sort of up close and personal with common dolphins, striped dolphins, usually long-fin pilot whales. And on a lucky day, you may even encounter fin whales and sperm whales, which are either migratory or semi-resident in the area. But yeah, July, you just never know your luck because this very now quite famous pod of orca come down, and they've specialised in stealing tuna from the Moroccan tuna fishing fleet. So if you're out there on the right day and you're in the area, you can have some really special encounters with those as well. As well as the seabirds that we get close to out there. So we have Corey's and Scopely shearwaters, and Balearic shearwater with regularity, and Wilson's and European storm petrel out there. Yeah, it's just really great to kind of get out there and get a whole different perspective on the straits and the movements kind of east to west through it, as well as just north and south over it. So it's really cool. It's one of my favorite
And when
days.
the orca arrive, it's a really good time for Wilson storm petrel.
Yeah,
They
for sure.
often
Yeah.
with them as well, aren't they?
Mm.
So yeah, nice. Okay, moving on. So we're in November now, and this is our Rhondda and the Straits tour. And wow, there's a lot going on this tour.
Yeah.
So there's still migration in the Straits as well. So half of this tour's in the Straits, and half of the tour is in the mountains of the Serranía de Ronda. And in the Straits, a lot of people think that the migration's already going to be over by November. No, it for some species it's just starting, and for some it's right in the middle or right towards the end. So
And
you have
some
a
are
lot
coming
going
back.
on, and so a lot of birds have already arrived to winter as well. So again, you're at that crossroads of birds arriving, birds overwintering, birds leaving. It's a really cool time to be in the Straits, but also in the mountains as well, because birds are moving down from the upper reaches of the mountains to be more easy to encounter. This photo is actually from the rice fields of Lahanda, and this is post harvest. It's when they do post harvest operations. It it's phenomenal. The noise of the white storks, the gulls, the shorebirds, the glossy ibis, spoonbills. It's a smorgasbord of ornithological heaven. But in the mountains itself as well, there's some fabulous species to encounter, whether it's tumbling red-billed chough like this species here, right around Rhondda, the town of Rhondda itself, or in the mountains, blue rock thrush, which are actually in Rhondda itself as well. But we should see a lot during the tour of the blue rock thrush. But spectacular mountain birds that, well, I always want to see. I always really love encountering species like rock bunting, rock petronia, but also black wheatear. And this is a species that's declined a lot across its range. And that's due to various reasons, including climatical change, but also where we're based, the road to the hotel, our good friends David and Ivan, this is one of the best places to see black wheatear. The concentration of black wheatear here is more than anywhere else I see in Spain. So it's a really cool place. The habitat is very good. The range is very good. And yeah, we can get some really nice views of them too. Around the accommodation itself, there are lots of still migratory warblers as well passing through, wintering birds like common chiffchaff, but also resident species like this common firecrest, which are singing every morning around the hotel. As we come back from the mountains down to the Straits, you might be surprised to see short-tailed eagles still crossing the Straits and on into Africa. And a lot of these birds are coming from further east and around into France down to us to cross because they can only cross at this narrow point between Europe and Africa. But also joining the griffon vultures, which we will have seen a lot of in the mountains, will be young birds. This is actually an adult, but there will be young griffon vultures, and those young griffon vultures are the only. A lot of them are congregating all across their population and coming to the Straits to cross into Africa, where they will spend the first 2 to 3 years of their life in the Sahel before returning in about their third to fourth year, and being again quite nomadic across the colonies of Iberia and across Europe before eventually settling down, probably breeding in about their fifth year. But that gives another truly spectacular thing that happens here in the Straits, and that's literally you can see tons above your head,
Yeah.
tons of vultures, of griffon vultures, trying to make this crossing. It's only 14 kilometers wide, but this crossing is really daunting for them. They have a wingspan of over 2.3 meters, up to 2.8. It varies a little bit, and they're really, really large wing loading, and they're designed for thermal flight. They are not designed for crossing the sea. There are no thermals forming over the sea, so it makes it very, very difficult for them. So I have to come towards Tarifa to make the crossing, and that gives us this phenomenal event of the vulture migration. And yeah, you can literally be beneath tons of vultures. This doesn't really do it justice, it's just with a mobile phone, but yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. And with them come some of the rarer species that shouldn't really be here. They're vagrants. This is an adult Rupel's vulture, a species that's normally resident in the Sahel region of Africa. And
Gorgeous.
with this conveyor belt of migrating is not the right word. Youth dispersal of griffon vultures. They're getting caught up in this conveyor belt of vultures and actually coming to Europe as those vultures come back from the Sahel. And there are so few of them because they're declining rapidly. This is a critically endangered species. There are so few of them that they get sort of caught up in this conveyor belt and actually end up in the Straits. And it's one of the few places, well, the only place in Europe where you can see with any real regularity Rupel's vulture. In actual fact, in the Sahel, it's quite difficult now to see Rupel's vulture because they're declining so rapidly, and that's due to agricultural issues primarily, but also poisoning, infrastructure, other issues as well. The issues are multivariate. And that's true also of a new bird that's arriving as well with them, and that's the white-backed vulture. And this is, I think, the sixth record for Spain, and it landed right in front of us, at a migratory watch point. So that's kind of very nice of it. Love it when birds do that. The wetlands as well are full of wintering birds from Northern Europe, like this blue throat. We should encounter blue throats fairly commonly across the wetland ditches and areas, but also we can encounter rarities that come to winter in the milder climate of the southern Andalucía, like little bunting. This is a bird that's increased in regularity over the winter, and also migratory and resident shorebirds as well, like this Kentish plover. Some of the wetlands are is a really good time as well. So we've got the earlier late autumn migration of wading shorebirds, but also during the winter is a really good time because some of the birds from Northern Europe are going to come and winter with us in southern Andalusia. And with that in mind, we have some 11,000, I think, common cranes wintering in the whole of Andalusia. So we can encounter very large groups. Really close to our house where we live in Fasinas, we have around about 2,500 overwintering around the rice fields of Lahanda. And the noise is spectacular.
Yeah, it's really
I love the
gorgeous.
noise
Yeah.
of common cranes, and well, the sight is even better. But yeah, it's real stuff that you looked up in the bird book when you were a kid and thought, God, I'd love to see and hear that. And
Yeah, it's just
we
joyous.
we hear it on a regular basis over the winter from our balcony. So, with all of that in mind, so we're now in February. So this will be a tour we'll be doing very soon, and this is our Serranía de Ronda vegetarian and vegan tour. And this is a spectacular tour. So all of those species we've seen in the mountains, and more as well, and plus some super good food, sustainable food, extensively produced, and of course vegetarian and vegan as well. And yeah, we explore more of the reaches of not only the Serranía de Ronda, but Grazalema, Sierra de las Nieves, many more mountainous areas in that area in touching distance of our base in Uzcar, and
So
also the wetland areas as
yeah,
well.
it's a chance to really sort of deep dive into that Because the November tours we have 2 nights up there and it's fantastic. But with a full 7-day trip concentrating on that area, it's really at the risk of like starting a turf war. It's if you take the best of Extremadura and then put it with somewhere where the food's better, then that's this trip. So it's got some really, really good stuff on it.
Yeah. And yeah, the wetlands is so we have plains as well. And I'm not, of course, let's not forget, I snuck this one in. Niki can rustle up an amazing picnic in the back of the booth. I mean, I help, of course, but so we really pride ourselves on sustainable catering over all of our tours. We think a lot about this, and we try and get our produce locally, but also it being extensively produced as well. So seasonal as well as extensively produced, and invariably with a conservation angle as well. So a lot of the produce that we tend to get actually are benefiting some of the species we're seeing as well. For instance, we were talking about Rufous-tailed scrub robin earlier. We do get to try sometimes the sherry as well. This one's a cheat because I forgot where I put a good crested tit photo. This is actually on a feeder near our house, but in the woodlands as well, the woodlands of the mountains, not only around the accommodation, but crested tit is super common. We should see it really, really well like this, not on a feeder. But yeah, there are many resident species of birds that we should see in and around the mountain woodlands as well. But as we go down to some of the wetlands, there's some really cool nearby wetlands, and one of the biggest wetlands is the inland salt lake of Fuente de Piedra, and that's got one of the biggest concentrations of greater flamingos, and they will be dancing at this time of the year as well. So that's truly spectacular to see them flapping their rosette wings and making all sorts of noises. But there's some other spectacular species that we've already talked about. So some of those being the marble duck, for instance, we should get some super close views of them. And also on the Llanos, on the plains, this is a great place to find great bustard, also little bustard. There's some conservation efforts ongoing on these plains to attract the species. Maybe there should be more, but we should encounter them as well as sand grouse, both black-bellied and pin-tailed. More likely black-bellied in this area, less likely pin-tailed. But the wetlands also are teeming. There are wetlands around the plains as well. One where we stop for lunch, which yeah, gives us some great close-up views with really familiar species like spoonbill, for instance. And also this time of the year, in February, in fact, they already start coming back in November, the great spotted cuckoos. This is a nest parasite of magpies, and they're already arriving back. But in February, even more numbers, and we hear them a lot. And on the plains, often in scrub areas, we should see them as well. They can be quite difficult to get a good angle on, but hopefully we get a nice view of one like this. It's a really spectacular species to see. It's always a good day when you see great spotted cuckoo.
Yeah.
Also but these are all from last year, by the way, these photos. So this is near a drinking pool we go to in the mountains of Grazalema, and this is ring ouzel, and this is actually a wintering area for ring ouzel. So we should be able to, with a little patience, they come to drink, and we have some spectacular views of them as well. It's really nice.
So obviously it's part of the for us it's just got everything. So it's a phenomenal 7-day trip, wildlife wise, just on its own. But then you've got this kind of added advantage that we stay at Hotel Bandolero, and our very good friend Ivan is a cordon bleu trained chef, and he will be cooking for you all week. And we've been working with the guys up there, well, since we moved out here, since 2016 or so. I think we've been running trips up there in November. And when we wanted to do a week-long one in February, they were very pleased. And when it was suggested that it should be vegetarian, vegan based, it was absolute embracement of this by Chef Ivan. And he developed a complete menu, six three-course meals that are entirely vegetarian, and also he learned to make his own vegan cheese and make entire vegan menu as well. So Chef Ivan is nationally famous in Spain as being Señor Castaña, the chestnut chef. So a lot of his food actually features chestnuts because they're a very sort of local seasonal product in this part of Andalusia, as well as many other sort of things. Or cherries in the summer, mushrooms in the autumn. It's like a Hansel and Gretel edible landscape that he's chosen to base himself in. So expect some stunning things. I mean, look, I'm so hungry.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So this is like a
Eaten.
tomato and caper carpaccio with this is a burrata, but he can also replace that with a vegan cheese.
That's
Um,
chestnut, isn't it?
oh, and it's chestnut bread.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he makes his own bread with chestnut flour as well. This is a chickpea crepe with courgette and sesame. Um, a goat's cheese kind of feely package of joy. I mean the desserts. I could go on, honestly. I've documented every meal we've ever eaten there, but it's just rest assured that you are not going to lose weight on this trip. Even if you consider yourself a carnivore, this is like a fantastic place to try local, seasonal, sustainable produce by somebody who really knows what they're doing. And the added advantage is you also one of the mornings on the trip we have afternoon, sorry, on the trip we have a cookery class from a world-class chef who will teach you how to cook things with chestnuts. And you get to take away a copy of that recipe so you can try it yourself at home, which is always fab. And it's just a fantastic. Um, you know what February is like in UK Northern Hemisphere, and you're just desperate to get out of that and come to a place that looks a little bit like this in sort of
Yes.
middle of February. It's just absolutely gorgeous. So,
Spring's in full
yeah,
full flow,
yeah,
big time.
yeah. There's orchids out. There's,
Yeah.
there's blossoms on the trees. Yeah, it's wonderful. So then, yeah, clocking round another season, a completely different pace of trip, really. We For the last few years we've been evolving, and I think now we're pretty happy with how we have the trip called Go Slow in southern Spain. It's actually based in a city, um, which Simon alluded to earlier. That's not his usual habitat. Probably me neither, really. But we are in Malaga, which perhaps doesn't have the best of reputations. You don't think of it as like a hotspot for wildlife necessarily. You think of it as an airport and the middle of the Costa del Sol. But actually, it's got a heck of a lot going for it within a very short distance. So we're based in a four-star hotel right in the historic centre, Molina Lario, which I had to research. Terrible it was. So this is actually the view from the swimming pool on the eighth floor. So you're like right looking straight across at the very famous Cathedral of Malaga, which is called La Manquita, because it's missing a big chunk. You can see that it was never finished. So from there you just have just fantastic views out of the whole of the city. But from there, within easily within an hour of leaving Malaga, you can be in some incredibly varied habitats in mountains. Again, some of them have in common with the Serenia trip, but at this kind of very different time of year when everything's so vibrant and full of summer colour. Um, so yeah, mountains, wetlands, plains, all within easy reach of this city base.
Yeah, so with that, there's from that base, a lot of the species that we will have seen and encountered on some of the mountain tours, for instance, we can find, but also additional species as well. We'll go further up into higher reaches of the mountains, closer to Malaga, where we can find species like this, the Western Orpheum warbler, always a always a great bird to encounter and to hear as well, singing.
Yeah.
But species like the greater flamingos, for instance, at the Fuente de Piedra, where you go there, and also we hope to encounter little bustard as well on the plains of near Fuente de Piedra as well. So it's a really good tour in terms of getting into a habitat where there are lots of breeding birds in the upper reaches, and with that you can really get in amongst spectacular breeding species like this western black-eared wheatear, which, yeah, don't need any badges of approval. They're just pretty striking, really. But there are many different species. Bee eaters, of course, at the colonies in the lowlands. Turtle doves are relatively common in the 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 lowlands that are going towards the mountains as well. And yeah, a lot of breeding waders, breeding shorebirds around the inland lakes and wetlands. Yeah, and of course, many familiar species like spotted flycatcher, common migrants, already starting to move south at this time of the year as well. Some maybe failed breeders, but also many on territory, as well as those resident species uh, like firecrest, Western Benelli's warblers breeding in the mountain forests as well. Yeah, a lot to see for bird watchers, but also a lot to see culturally, and some pretty good food as well, I hear.
As you well know. So yeah, there's yeah, a lot of the plains nearby just lit up with flowers in this stunning time of year. And that, of course, is it's a fantastic habitat to find breeding little bustards, and well, a sensational one to see it in as well. It's very, very
Yeah,
pretty
good colour
indeed.
contrast.
And some really nice kind of resident. This is a Spanish sparrow that we encounter quite frequently in local pasture lands. And as Simon said, yeah, we revisit some of these wonderful wetlands nearby, and hopefully get more looks at some of the real kind of, southern Spanish special ducks. Like this one's got its smoky eyeliner on, ready for a night out in Malaga, seemingly. Um, but it is very different because like it sounds so very jam-packed, but it's because everything's in such easy reach. It fits perfectly well into a really nice go slow itinerary. So what we generally do is we'll spend a morning and head out to one of these kind of prime wildlife watching sites, have a lovely picnic lunch out in the fields, or head back for lunch in town somewhere. And then the afternoons, you either have to your own free time, or we have some really expert city guides that can show us some of the really very interesting bits of Malaga. Malaga's a very ancient city. The name of it dates from Phoenician times. So you have Roman ruins. There's the fantastic Alcazaba Citadel, which was a Roman fortress, and then a Moorish one, and then a Spanish one. You can see all these kind of layers of culture of that area. Um, you have this just breathtaking cathedral that took several centuries to build and still isn't finished. Um, and as a result, the inside of it is like a history of art of that whole period. Like every kind of niche and chapel in it takes you through a story of the history there. Um, it's also the hometown of Picasso. There's a trip to the Picasso Museum there, which is everything's really nicely set out, so you can kind of see his art evolve chronologically through the period of his life. Um, so loads to see just within the city itself as well. And then, of course, again, I'm unfortunately I had to painstakingly research or so many restaurants, and we the hotel itself actually has a critically acclaimed restaurant where we kind of eat a couple of nights, but we also just have chance to explore some real some Malaga, what's the word? Malaga institutions. So there's one, there's the famous El Pimpi restaurant, which is now part owned by Antonio Banderas, or we head out into the sort of suburbs to a chiringuito where only the locals go, and the bill is added up by scrawling things on the tablecloth. Um, so yeah, it's just a huge, it's a lovely, varied trip full of kind of wildlife moments and culture moments, and just again loads of really excellent foods. Oh, and of course, always an opportunity for a bit of urban birding. So we absolutely love causing a bit of a stir in the classiest bit of Malaga by setting up telescopes to look at the peregrines nesting on the cathedral, because bird watchers are just indomitable, really, aren't we? You just can't stop us. So
Well, people come and have a
yeah,
look as well. It's very
it's
cool.
really
Yeah,
good. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And from my perspective as well, um, some of these institutions that Nikki talks about on the Malaga tour, these are the places you cannot go yourself. Um, and Nikki does a lot of work with the guys at Naturetrek in the office there to make sure that we're booked in, we're able to get in there. It's a year in advance, we're planning this tour, and yeah, it makes it very, very special for people coming to to experience all these different things. And the wildlife is awesome too.
That's about all I have to say about that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hopefully, I was more or less on time.
That's great, Simon, Nikki. Thanks very much. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Brought back some memories for me, and I know a lot of people watching tonight have been with you in Spain, and there's lots of comments. I'll copy and paste for you afterwards. People saying hi and thanks for the wonderful memories. Just on that Malaga tour, you finished there, so let me start on that one. I think it's something we've been kind of recognizing in nature over the last few years, especially, is that not everybody wants a wildlife holiday, or the birding or the wildflower spotting, etc. is dawn to dusk every day. People want a bit of variety in their trip, and you might get a couple coming along, for example, where one is a mad keen birder, but one comes along and says, "Well, I don't mind birds, but I get a bit bored looking at them for 12 hours a day." So these tours where we're wrapping in a bit of cuisine or a museum visit or an after hours private visit to an art gallery, they go down really well, don't they? Sometimes we do wine tasting. So just tell the folks a bit about the kind of people you get on that Malaga tour. Is it as I'm describing there, people that just want a lovely wildlife experience, a comfortable hotel, but a bit more than just the birds?
It's a total mixture. Yeah, it's a total mixture because it's all um yeah, you get because it's go slow, and because we've arranged it so that the activities are kind of would take up like a say a half of the day, and it means you can opt in and out of things that you do and don't want to do as well. So for example, if you are someone who's only more interested in the birding side of things, or you've done that and you feel tired, then you don't have to do everything. And similarly, if somebody wants to take the morning off the wildlife stuff and focus on the museums, the art galleries and things, and that's an option too. So yeah, it's a total mixture of people that want to do bits of it or people that want to do all of it and more. So
Yeah, great. Okay. Um, Thank you, Malcolm Stoker, for your question. And it's an obvious one because the quality of the photography, the Simon and Nick you've just been talking through there, is absolutely top notch, isn't it? It's professional standard. So, Simon, I think one for you. Malcolm's question is how much emphasis is given to photography on these tours?
Well, photography on these tours is relatively simple. It's we're not focused in on it in its entirety, but it just happens because we want to get really good views for everybody, and that just happens to be really good for photography as well. I'm a photographer. Those are the photos I took, and yeah, those are all of those, I think 95% of those pictures are all from 2025. So they're from tours, those four tours. They're all from those tours that we did last year. So yeah, it's it's not the ultimate focus, but it just happens. And not at the detriment to other people wanting to watch or anything like that, but it's all included and all part of it.
Some of those shots, Simon, you've got raptors in flight. That's quite technical, is it, with light and shutter speed? Are you able to give people any tuition as you go along in terms of capturing those in-flight shots?
Yeah, I'm more than willing to help. Like, obviously, I don't want to tell people how they should be doing things if they know, but if anybody any time on a tour wants any, we can compare notes because sometimes I learn from you guys as well. So, and yeah, we compare notes and see what the best results are.
Okay, Nikki, I just asked you about the kind of people we get on the Malaga Go Slow tour. Just let me ask you a similar question on the vegetarian tour. Um, I touched at the outset the terrible reputation Spain has got for vegetarian cuisine. And I know from taking phone calls in the office, we get a bit of a mixture of people on this trip. We get lifelong vegetarians and vegans who have been crying out for a product whereby the quality of food can be guaranteed. We get people like me, omnivores, who are quite curious and think, well, on a trip, what's it like to be catered for by a professional chef? And then we get people just pick that date because the date works and they don't really mind about the food. Sometimes people say, well, can I have a steak halfway through? No, you blooming well can't have a steak halfway through. It's a vegetarian tour. So am I right? My perception in the office, you get a nice mixture of people on that vegetarian tour.
I think that's fair to say. I mean, it was I would say that what you say about vegetarians and vegans crying out for a tour where they know they're going to be given um, something really, really good to eat, and it's not just an afterthought. There's a big amount of people that are really, really thankful and enthusiastic to come for that. And then to have that alongside such an amazing sort of itinerary um, of sights and wildlife to see is just kind of like a bit of a dream tour for that. And you can't. I've never heard. There are sort of omnivores come on it that they are allowed, and I've never heard a single person on the tour sort of bemoan the lack of ham or anything like that.
Quite the
It's
opposite, in fact. Yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
superb food, and
yeah,
yeah, you'll never feel wanting for anything, I don't think so.
yeah.
Okay, great. Before I move on to a few more questions, we've got a fair few coming in. I just want to make a comment that Nick and Simon won't make themselves, but I feel it's an important one. And that is, as you all know, those of you who have taken wildlife holidays, the tour leader makes or breaks the tour. But it's not just the individual tour leader and the skills they bring, but the rapport between leaders. If we've got two leaders on the same trip, they can be great as individuals, but do they work as a part of a team? Do they spin off against each other? Do they complement each other's skills? Do they bring slightly different personalities to the table? And I think you've seen tonight that Simon and Nikki have got such an easy manner between them. They're such good companions on a tour. And I know they'll be embarrassed me saying this, but you hear one or two horror stories about couples leading tours because any marital strife comes to the forefront when you're under pressure on a tour when things go wrong and you're with 14 people you don't know. But Simon and Nikki obviously know each other so well, work superbly together as a team, and they make their holidays good fun. And I'm sure if you look at the comments from people that have been with them, that shines through in the comments as well. So I just wanted to get that one in there before I forget. It's such an important ingredient of these tours, the camaraderie, the rapport, the friendship, and the hospitality on these trips. And Simon and Nikki do that almost better than anyone. Right, so I had a few questions on the Lynx holiday. Do you still do the Lynx holiday? Simon and Nikki could be here all night talking about southern Spain, and they've both led our realm of the Lynx, as I have. We don't have time to cover that tonight, but I'm happy to pick up the phone and get in touch with any of you who would like to talk about lynx watching possibilities in southern Spain, traditionally centered around Doñana National Park and also up in the mountains of Anduja, the other side of Cordoba. But the lynx are doing quite well in Spain. They are spreading. There are new populations which are viable populations to go and watch in the Montes de Toledo, amongst others. I'll be very happy to have a chat with you if you'd like to discuss lynx watching possibilities in Spain. Niki, we've had a couple of questions from people who have joined tonight, maybe hoping to see a wildflower or two. We've focused principally on the birds and the food, but you've got a passing interest at least in flowers, and you have led some of our tours elsewhere in Europe with dedicated botanical leaders, notably in the French Pyrenees and elsewhere. But on the tours you run in Andalusia, do you focus at all on the non-avian flora and fauna?
I think both the the Serenia de Ronda ones and the Malaga Go Slow one take you to some really excellent limestone landscapes. And even though they're kind of like a few months apart, there's a really nice suite of orchids to see in both of those. Actually, on the Malaga one, there's an endemic toad flax that you can see up in El Torcal on the limestone. And you're going to help me out with
Yeah, there's
the orchids. We get sawfly orchids.
sawfly orchids, somber bee orchids. Yeah, there's in the February, the vegan and vegetarian tour.
That's
There's
really
a
nice.
really lovely valley. Where I took a photo of that. I think you took the photo actually of the picnic. That's a really lovely valley for a whole four species of orchids in that valley, and they're really fresh at that time of year as
Yeah.
well. So yeah, it's a really good time of year to see a stand of them there. I actually was going to put a load of orchid pictures in there, but I realised I was running out of
Yeah.
room,
Yeah.
and I thought, oh gosh, I'll be running over, so I'll not go on to that. But yeah, it's those tours in the mountains particularly. There's some really beautiful valleys, and of course they're quite warm, and that time of the year is a really good time of the year to encounter some of the orchid species there.
But in the Straits too, as well, the ones based down in the Straits, we have some really nice endemics down there, like the Andalusian birthwort. God, what else? Oh, there's a gory little sundew, the Portuguese sundew that looks really cute with its yellow flowers, and then it's just kind of
Until you get up close.
you get up
Yeah.
close, it's just like got all this dead stuff stuck to it. So we like that one. So yeah, there's lots to see on the botanical front as well, if that's your sort of interest. Butterflies too, once you get up into the limestone, there's some really good butterflies down in the Straits also.
Yeah.
So
Actually,
yeah, we sort of focused on birds because of well, I guess it's our first passion and because of Simon's stunning photos. But yeah, there's across the board wildlife
but
for all taxes.
actually, the February tour we have the first emergence of the Spanish festoon, and if you don't know Spanish festoon, look it up.
Yeah.
It looks like a mini swallowtail, like coloring, but it's one of my favorite butterflies because it's
Super cool.
so stunning, and they're everywhere in the near Euskal, up in the Los Riscos, this area where we're walking, just everywhere. They're really beautiful, but lots of different species as well. It's a really good time actually because they're very fresh as well.
Yeah, that's great. The message has come across loud and clear that even if you're on a birding tour, what's labelled as a birding tour, you're not going to ignore the other flora and fauna around. In fact, when birding's quiet, people might find an interesting lizard or a plant or a butterfly, and there's always something going on, whether with feathers or not. Um, there was a question here about temperatures. Elizabeth Stone, thank you for your question. She's probably not alone in wondering on the summer trip, the Swift trip, and September as well, still summerish in Spain. Are people going to be roasted with very high temperatures? What are the temperatures like, and how do you combat the heat?
So well, I guess the July tour in the Straits is the one that's got the highest temperatures in terms of around Spain itself. But we're quite blessed because we're right near the coast, and it's actually a lot cooler than the rest of Spain.
Yeah.
We actually have our own climate there, and we have a nice sea breeze. It's relatively cool, and we don't bird in the main heat of the day because that's where there's very little activity of all wildlife really when it's that hot. So we select our shade well, and it's actually relatively cool and quite comfortable. I think most people find it very comfortable. Going up to the eastern side of Doñana is a little bit warmer. You can expect temperatures just over 30 there, but a lot lower around the coast in the Straits, mid 20s, upper 20s at that time. It
Yeah.
can be hot, it depends, but normally we have a sea breeze, which makes it feel much, much cooler. And we're always in the shade as well.
And that's what siestas are for, right?
Yeah.
So,
So yes, and the great thing about watching raptors, you sit in a chair. I
yeah.
think somebody said it
Yeah, I saw that
on the
comment. Yeah.
comments. You sit in a chair, take it easy, have your picnic. You can have wine or juice, whichever you prefer, and you just watch. So, and then you're nice and comfortable. It's not cold, it's not too hot, and there's a lot going on. So everything's laid out before you. It's like the picnic's there, the raptors are there, there's wildlife below you as well. There's all sorts going on. So very, very comfortable. I think it's comfortable.
Right. Andrew Burke has just made me smile. There's two past his comment. He said, "Is it possible to combine the tours with other areas of Spain and/or Morocco and North Africa?" So I'll ask you just to say a word on our two continents trip in a second. But he's impressed we haven't mentioned the wine yet. Well, Andrew, you didn't see the wagging great glass of Rioja that Niki was sporting before we all went online this evening. There's a huge glass.
A bit left. I've got most of it left.
It's just to help the, yeah.
Medicinal,
Yeah.
yeah.
Huh.
And, we do serve wine on these trips, a spot at lunchtime for those that want a tipple at lunchtime, and then there'll be some good house wine in the evenings. So yeah, the two continents trip, just briefly, we did a lovely trip which combines the Straits with northern Morocco. That goes late year, doesn't it? October time.
Yeah. Yeah, it coincides with late autumn migration,
Yeah.
which is awesome at that time of the year. We actually do encounter more species of raptors, I think, at that time of the year than any other, because you've got
Yes,
this
it's interesting
juxtaposition
to
of
see that.
the vulture migration as well as the eagle migration and other things coming.
And it seems to be the time when rarities turn up,
Mm,
when
that's
things
a
that
good
are
point.
wired a little bit wrong sort of are drifting
Young
around.
birds
So
and
yeah,
stuff, yeah.
it's a really interesting time.
But then we
Yeah.
we're in the fortunate position being only 14 kilometers from Tarifa. Africa's just over there, and we can just take our buses and go onto the ferry and see a lot of things going across on the ferry, actually, seabirds as well as cetaceans. But then be in a completely different world. It's only 14 kilometers away. To us, it's our backyard, but it feels very different. We love going there. I think we're unique in being the only people that do that. I think, Andy, that there's nobody else that sort of pioneered birding on two continents, and it feels like a really big adventure because it is. And I mean this in the best possible way as well. And I think anybody who's been on that tour will agree with me. It feels like a really long time,
Yeah, so true.
but not in a bad
Yeah.
way. Like
Yeah.
you feel like you've lived a long time because
Yeah.
you've done this one thing in Spain, completely different culture, and then and food and wine, and then you go across to Morocco and it's completely different, and the birds are completely different, the
Yeah.
wildlife's completely different. You only have to go across there, and suddenly you're seeing common baubles everywhere. There's one in Tarifa, that's it. We think it came on a ferry one time, but things like African blue tit and house buntings are everywhere there. They don't really cross the straits, particularly yeah, African blue tits, just like boom, they're everywhere. And if you don't know African blue tit, it looks like a blue tit that's been coloured in twice. But then there are a whole range of different species across there that we really enjoy seeing. So you're seeing the migration as well at the same time from the other side. So you see it one side, then you see it the other side, and then we encounter some super rare species like the Moroccan marsh
Yeah.
owl,
Yeah.
which is really threatened due to agriculture expansion, but up into the mountains of the Rif as well, which is really undiscovered, whether that's in the Burshim forest, the biggest cork oak forest around, and amongst truly wild Barbary macaques, a really special experience. You sit and watch them foraging through the forest in front of you, as well as some truly phenomenal bird species there. And then up into the mountains, and actually we often have set up a little makeshift kitchen up in the top of the mountains there with our good friend Ibrahim, La Cocina de Ibrahim, and we have the Musier's Red Start coming, and we watch that and drink Moroccan tea at the same time. I love that tour. It's a really special experience and a really good adventure. Yeah, if anybody's not done it, well, as well as all the other tours, that one, yeah, I love it. It's a really good tour.
Yeah, great, thanks. Just a couple more questions. So, folks, if you're still with us and want to ask a question, now's the time to do it. Otherwise, we'll finish and we'll wrap up and your question won't get answered. So, just two more I want to put to you for now, guys. Colin White, thanks for your question. We've kind of touched on this, but I'll just ask you to expand a little bit, Nikki. Are the daily wildlife outings more or less literally dawn to dusk, which sounds a bit rushed? Or is there time to have a couple of coffees and get oneself in gear before heading out for the day? Now, you've talked about the Malaga trip, but of course, we also do the Go Slow in Andalusia, both in March and September. And the whole philosophy at Naturetrek behind the Go Slow trips is to not all the time offer wildlife holidays where you need a holiday to recover afterwards, which is a tradition, isn't it, with bird
Yeah.
watching holidays? We
Yeah.
wanted something a bit more relaxed, really comfortable base, one centre, so you're not packing up halfway through the holiday. 6 and a bit hours out in the field each day with proper loo breaks. Easier said than done in some parts of Spain and Europe, but reasonably easily done around Andalusia. So, just Nikki, from your point of view, from leading it all, what does a go slow holiday mean to you?
Well, what you said really, I mean, it's just about it never being rushed and the focus being on that there's no kind of dashing about. Although I think it's fair to say that none of our trips, even the ones that are sort of slightly fuller, longer birding days, I think as an ethos, as a way of working, we're not about rushing around trying to see, moving around, chasing things, looking for as many species as possible. It's about finding the right place and really taking time to kind of relax and see what's there and properly enjoy it and watch it, instead of like trying to get a long list. It's about like the quality of what you're seeing. And funnily enough, if you approach it like that, you find that in the end you see just as much as if you were hooning around all day dawn till dusk. So
If not more.
if not more,
Yeah.
yeah, because you just chill, quiet, and things come to you, right? So it's very much about that, and it's about um, getting a sense of place as well, and feeling part of the environment, the culture, and the place that you're in, and not just like kind of trying to see as many things as you can. So, I mean, even on our kind of full day birding, it's not. I wouldn't say it's dawn till dusk. We because a lot of it's raptor focused as well, so they don't get up that early, which is awesome. So
That's why we love.
yeah, so you can have. There's the odd day where you have to push out early, for example, to see the bush chat, for example, is better if you head out early. But for the vast majority of things, you can have a nice, relaxed breakfast, leave at 9, we'll have, a proper relaxing lunch, and we'll be back, in good time to kind of relax and reflect on what you've seen during the day, and sort of freshen up before dinner and whatnot. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's great. I hope that helps you, Colin, with the question. Anybody else wondering what a go slow holiday is all about? A quick word, Sheila Thomas asked this. What about vegan food in Morocco, please, guys? I know that's not a vegan vegetarian tour, but from your own point of view, when you go across to Morocco, you
Really good
clearly
question. Yeah.
don't get catered for like you do up in Ronda. But how is the food over there from a non-meat eating perspective?
Fabulous. It's
Yeah,
really
so
like,
good. Yeah.
yeah, if somebody was going to ask me what tour a vegan vegetarian should book, it would be the vegan and vegetarian tours, of course,
Yeah.
but that tour as well. It's phenomenal. It's it's yeah, the culture of that is very normal. And yeah, we stay in two really good places where, well, particularly the mountain area in the Rif, the vegan food there is I've not had dinner and I'm now like tagine,
Yeah.
yeah, tagines, other things, couscous, a lot of different things, a lot of Moroccan dishes that are totally vegan and totally awesome and traditional, really lovely. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay. An interesting question from Maggie Herity, which we get in the office on a fairly regular basis. And that is, are any of your tours suitable for people with limited mobility? I can no longer walk far, but I have a mobility scooter that folds to almost nothing and is semi-off-road. And the answer to that one, Maggie, is we do organise a fair few holidays through the year for people with limited mobility. The whole dynamics of a group holiday is quite tricky because generally we're in 9-seat minibuses where access is quite difficult and space is limited. But lots of our guides around the world have vehicles which are reasonably accessible and they can take you to sites which are rich in wildlife without much walking required. Southern and Eastern Africa is particularly well set up for this. But I think in your case, Simon and Nikki, you were just telling me the other day you've got a small van, a 5-seater van, which would be perfect for a couple of people to go on a private tour. And then the pace and the level of walking or the level of movement around can be stipulated by the client's mobility, really, and you can do a tailor-made tour on that basis.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I think we're about there, folks. I'd like to thank Simon and Nikki once again for coming on this evening. It's been a brilliant talk, and I hope you've found it useful going through the various questions there. Just something from a nature perspective, I'd like to ask you folks that remain with us. There's been a really good number tonight, over 250 screens on for the majority of the tour. That's probably getting on towards 350 or so people. So tremendous turnout. Each winter we do a series of in-person roadshow events around the country, trying to pick areas, cities and towns which are accessible. And we are committed to continue to do those. But the numbers tonight, with people sitting in the comfort of their living rooms without having to venture out on a cold winter evening, is a winning formula. So I'd like to know two things. First of all, do any of you have any appetite still for coming out and meet us face to face in in-person roadshow events? And secondly, we are going to continue these webinars clearly, but if you have any topics, countries, questions you'd like us to cover as part of these evening webinars, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Simon and Nikki. I'll pick up the phone to you two in a few minutes. We can carry on our pre-talk chat. It's been a real pleasure having you all on this evening. You'll get a welcome or thanks for joining email tomorrow with a few links. If you have any feedback, we'd love to hear from you. So enjoy the rest of your evening. Happy New Year, everybody, once again. And thanks again for joining us.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys. Thanks for
Yeah,
having us.
it's lovely to see seeing a lot of familiar names flooding past on the questions. So hello to you all and look forward to seeing some of you again soon.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Goodbye.